on gun safety and to remind people that this common sense measure has already proven to save lives before. We cannot allow another student, another family, another community to become the next in that horrible club that includes Stockton, San Bernardino, Thousand Oaks, Monterey Park, Poway, Fresno, and far too many other communities in California and across the country. The time to act on this life-saving legislation is now, not tomorrow, not next week, and not when the next tragedy strikes.
Hometown senator decides to go on the grift to get the emotional fodder to push through an assault weapons ban at the federal level. Welcome to another installment of the Connecticut Gun Bench. Today's video is brought to you by P.A.N. Firearms, LLC. P.A.N. Firearms, NRA certification of multifaceted gun training. You can reach us at 203-300-6343 or use our website at www.panfirearmsllc.com. As always, there'll be a link in the description box below. And if you like channel, like content, what I do, you can support me. The link, everything is appreciated. And once again, online store is open. Use code CGB20 to get 20% off, free shipping. Connecticut residents, you have to pay tax. I have no say in that matter. But take advantage. CGB20 gets you 20% off. Let's talk about this. I think a couple of days ago, I put out a video on the fact that, once again, that both Democrats in both House and Senate are trying to push through an assault weapons ban, knowing good and well it's not going to go through. But why are they doing it? Because that's going to be their grift going into 2026, into the midterms. They're going to say, we try to protect children, but the Republicans don't care. And these are the same people who tell you that abortion, the slaughtering of the unborn, is women's health care. You know, the Nazis called it the final solution. But hey, that's another story. But they decided to have a little powwow in front of the press outside one of the federal buildings. And one of the illustrious, and I say that with as much contempt as I can find, senators who's been on this grift for years. He has done nothing other than the so-called bipartisan, Bipartisan Safe Communities Act, which has done nothing. That's it. That's all he's done. But he's going to come up and say a few words, and I did watch through this video, and I got some things to say myself. So let's go ahead and jump in and listen to this.
It is my honor, my privilege to introduce to you a champion of gun violence prevention, Senator Murphy.
Well, Lucy, thank you so much. You are a hero to so many of us, and you are right to remind our opponents, the gun lobby, Republicans who choose to continue to stay silent, that we are never, ever giving up.
Now, isn't that interesting? Our opponents, the NRA and the Republicans, the people who are fighting to keep the Constitution whole as written and exercise it as written, are now opponents. Well, that's interesting language.
This is the moral cause of our country, to make sure that our children do not fear for their lives when they walk out their door every morning to walk to school or while they sit in school. It's really hard to explain the power of a modern assault weapon, an AR-15 or an AR-15 variant.
Okay, there's his first ignorant statement. The power of an AR-15. If this person actually knew anything about guns and ballistics, he would actually be dangerous. He doesn't. He is pandering to those who are ignorant with emotional crap. Obviously, this fool has never shot a 45-70. 300 Win Mag. I can go on and on. We know. He probably knows too. But once again, he's pandering to a specific group of people who don't know any better. The AR-15 in a .223 5.56 caliber is nothing more than an overpowered .22. That's why, think about it. When you clean your AR-15, what does the brush say on it when it says caliber? .22, .223, on and on. Why? Because that's all it is. It's so frustrating. But a .223 5.56 round and 55 grain, I'm telling you what, I faced that before I faced a whole lot of calibers that would literally take your arm off. But then again, this is not about safety or anything else. This is once again the grift. The grift to pass an assault weapons ban to disarm Americans. That's it.
The image that comes to mind for me is the image in the hallways of that school in Uvalde, Texas. Inside a classroom was one frail young man with an assault weapon. Outside that classroom were 300 armed law enforcement guards and officers, cowering, afraid to open the door to that classroom because they feared not that young man, but they feared the single weapon that he had in his hands.
All right, let's talk about Uvalde. 300 officers may have been there, but only a handful breached. We saw the video. Okay, when they initially went in, they chose to not do their jobs. That's why all kinds of backlash came from that. They didn't do their jobs. It had nothing to do with weapons. They just didn't want to get shot. Period. Whether the kid had a so-called assault weapon. Let's cover that for a minute. This person did not have an assault weapon. An assault weapon, by definition, is a firearm that can fire a single shot, 3-round burst, and full auto. This person had a semi-automatic rifle, nothing more. This whole assault weapon is once again pandering to the ignorant. But let's go back to Uvalde. What happened? Another set of law enforcement people showed up and they went in and breached.
The police response to the Robb Elementary School massacre in Uvalde, Texas was a failure. But it was apparently an even bigger mess than we knew. A new bombshell investigation from the New York Times reports the incident commander in charge, the school district police chief, Pete Arredondo, showed up without his police radio to communicate. The Times cites a law enforcement official familiar with the investigation. The newspaper reports Arredondo decided in the first minutes to fall back after the gunman's bullets grazed a couple of police supervisors. He reportedly called a police landline from his cell phone to request more backup and said the gunman was contained. Of course, we now all know that the children were trapped inside that classroom with the gunman. So instead of confronting the gunman immediately, like they had been trained since Columbine, police officers held back for more than an hour. As we reported, Border Patrol agents eventually ignored that police chief's orders and led a stack of officers in the classroom to kill the gunman. The Times reports they were done waiting for permission. They continued even after one of them heard a command crackling in his earpiece, "Do not breach."
So they weren't afraid of this one frail person because they were afraid of the weapon. No, they did their job. This has nothing to do with the weapon this person had. It just had to do with the fact that these initial officers who responded to it didn't do their job. Just like the Stoneman Douglas in Florida. The armed resource officer didn't want to go in the building. He didn't want to do his job. Same thing. Had nothing to do with the weapon. It has to do with the fact that they didn't do their job.
One AR-15 up against 300 armed officers, and the AR-15 won that day. And there are dozens of children who are dead. So we are here today to just tell you that we're not giving up. This bill is important. It will save lives. You heard what happened for the 10-year period when this country came together on a bipartisan basis and decided to ban assault weapons. But we continue to have proof after proof that when we change the laws to make it just a little bit harder for dangerous people to get their hands on dangerous weapons, we save lives. In 2022, after 30 years of the gun lobby running this place, we passed the first meaningful anti-gun violence legislation in 3 decades. It includes...
Okay, he's talking about the assault weapons ban 94-2004. What he's not telling you is that the DOJ put out a report in 2004 saying renewing the assault weapons ban will have negligible effect on actual gun deaths. Why? Because the stuff that they banned in that legislation is barely used in shootings. It's the same thing, an assault weapons ban. We know, based on FBI reports, that so-called assault weapons, and I hate that term, are used very infrequently in gun deaths. Handguns are the number one killer of people. We know this. The FBI report tells you, but once again, he's being disingenuous and he's lying because he's pandering to a specific group of people.
It included a provision that made it a little bit harder, but meaningfully harder, for young buyers to get their hands on assault weapons. It effectively imposed a 3-day waiting period. It made a number of other meaningful changes in our gun laws. And guess what has happened since we passed that law? School shootings in this country have dropped by 23%. Mass shootings have dropped by 25%.
Notice, once again, he's quoting some percentages, but he's not telling you where this information came from. Like I said, I watched this before, and I immediately went out to research the numbers that he's talking about. I can't find them anywhere. I cannot find the numbers he's talking about, or any poll, or any research. I can't find it. If he's, hey, you watching this there, Murph? You want to tell me where you got these numbers from? I can't find them. The internet, the global internet, and I can't find anything that supports what he's saying right here. Just saying.
Urban gun crime is down by 20%.
Same thing I just said before. I could not find any information that supports what he's saying. Nowhere.
We have shown, whether it be back in 1994 or in 2022, that when we pass common sense gun laws that still allow for law-abiding citizens to get their hands on a weapon to protect their home or to shoot for sport, we save countless numbers of lives.
Okay. Once again, the grift, the gaslighting. We pass these laws that only affect the law-abiding. So the same people he's talking about being law-abiding to get weapons to protect themselves or defend themselves are affected by these laws. Not the criminal element, which they don't seem to give a damn about. They let them run rampant. When you introduce a ban, the only people who are going to listen to you are the law-abiding. That's it. Criminals are going to keep doing what criminals do. So this whole notion that, it's kind of backwards, because I have to back up. It's backwards. We're going to allow you to buy weapons to protect yourself, but only the ones that we think you can have. Because that's really what they're doing here. That's the reality.
So we are going to keep pressing, because not only is the assault weapons ban the right thing to do, it is the popular thing to do. Every single year when you go into the field and ask Americans what they think of an assault weapons ban, of just making sure that these weapons designed to kill as many people as quickly as possible are solely in the hands of the military and law enforcement, by increasing numbers, they tell Congress that it's past time to stand up and do the right thing.
Once again, he just tells you, when you go out in the field and talk to people, the mass majority, who are these people? Where is he getting this information from? He's just saying it. He's just plain and simply saying, I'm sick and tired of these fucking bobbleheads in the background just nodding their heads up and down. Once again, just understand that this is bullshit and it's a grift. Okay? The people he talks to are people who think like him, have the same ideology as him, and vote the same way he does. That's where he gets his information from. Because once again, I did research on this. I can't find anything where people overwhelmingly in the majority want an assault weapons ban. Can't find it nowhere. So.
By our kids. So I'm really glad to be here. I thank Senator Schiff for spending the time to honor the work that Dianne Feinstein did to bring us to this moment. We have momentum to pass this bill, in part because Dianne Feinstein stood up to the gun lobby, passed that bill in 1994, and we have the data. We have the information in our hands to know that the assault weapons ban works.
If you have the data, why don't you just say it right there in front of the whole world? Why is it going to be some mystery that we got to go pull our teeth to get? What data? Where'd it come from? Who did the research? Once again, he's just saying things.
So we stand in her very big shoes today. We stand with literally hundreds of thousands of parents and students, Americans from every part of this country, who say it's time. It's time for us to put our kids before the profits of the gun lobby. So thanks, Senator Schiff. Thanks, Lucy, for making this a reality, making this a priority. Every single day, I get to wake up and do this work with the.
Now, that's interesting. I wake up every day to do this work. He hasn't done shit. That's reality. Other than the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, which did nothing, I have never seen his name on anything worthwhile. This has been his whole time in the Senate. This is what he was when he was in Congress. Same thing. I can't point to anything and say, this has positively affected Americans' lives. This is the party of open borders, of crying about illegal immigrants in other countries, of slaughtering the unborn. But he's going to tell you, hey, I'm here for the people. Oh, these people are so full of shit.
The man that I was standing next to in that firehouse in Sandy Hook. A lot of things that we saw and heard that day we both wish we didn't see and hear, but it changed both of our lives. My senior senator, Senator Dick Blumenthal.
They always bring back to Sandy Hook. They always come back to Sandy Hook. What I heard and saw. This is infuriating. This just really gets to my bones with this kind of crap. There are people dying all over this country, and the firearms not involved. This little death grifter here is nowhere to be seen when these things happen. I say it all the time. I know a lot of you heard me say it. Name a victim of the attack in New Orleans on New Year's Day. Name one. Have you even heard about that story since it happened? Have you heard anything about that story? Have you heard anything about the person who actually committed the crime? No. Do you see them parading those people in front of the cameras? Nope. Why not? Because they don't have any political value. These people are just evil and narcissistic, and it's just disgusting what they're doing. But
thank you. Thanks, Chris. Thank you, Senator Murphy, Senator Schiff. Chris is right. We went through the heartbreaking trauma, the sickening experience of going to the firehouse after that Sandy Hook massacre.
all right, let me come out of that, because this idiot says pretty much the same thing the last idiot said. These people are planning for 2026. That's why they brought forward a bill that they know good and damn well is never going to pass. Because it's going to be all about, and I've said this before, because I've said this every election cycle, they do this. This bill is going nowhere, period. They don't have the votes to do it. There are some Democrats who won't vote for this thing. You know, Democrats in what you would call purple states, or what you would call moderate Democrats. Democrats who aren't freaking Trump deranged. They're not going to pass this thing, but what they're going to do is they're going to use that failure of this bill as fodder for their campaigns. That's it. That's what it's for. They know they're not going to pass this thing, but they're trying to get the votes. They're trying to buy votes through emotional bull. Okay? As I said, both of them, Blumenthal and Murphy, they have done nothing that you can honestly say benefited the American country as a whole and everyone in it. They've done a lot for illegals. They've done a lot for killing children in the womb. They've done a whole lot for that. But other than that, useless individuals. But the problem is the state they come from, Connecticut, is so pathetically blue that they will vote for anyone as long as they got a D next to their name. All you got to do is look through the leadership. Look through the people that this state sends to represent us at the federal level. Somebody once said to me that I should run for, office.
Representative O'Day.
Just real quick, thank you, sir, very much. I hope you run for state rep and you don't live in Stamford, northern Stamford, or any part of New Canaan. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
We wouldn't be talking politics on a government Zoom, would we, Representative O'Day? I don't think.
Well, no.
Okay, just want to make sure we don't want anybody getting in trouble with the ethics rules here, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry.
You're welcome.
And I said two things, actually. I said, one, there's an old saying that the smartest among us don't run for political office. And two, I would be that guy that you would see on C-SPAN or whatever, night after night, cussing all of these people out. Okay? I would literally be that guy, because they all need to be cussed out. But the Democrats are definitely at the top of that list. They're running at a 29% approval rating. And instead of moderating themselves and bringing themselves to the center, they continue down the same stupid ass road that gets them nowhere. But just realize they're playing the long game. I'm sorry, I said it a million times. Murphy, as a politician, is just useless. He's full of crap. He's gaslighting. And he's also grifting for his own political future. But let me know what you think. As always, you can leave your comments in the comment section below. And as always, any statements of violence or statements that lead to violence will be removed. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you're notified the next time a video goes live. I will see you on the next one. Peace.